everyone. Welcome to Daily Dictation. This week we're studying about the topic online school. This video is a low intermediate video for low intermediate English speakers, and it's really here to help you practice your English skills with an interactive activity. So you will do this activity as if you are a student in my class. I ask students in my class to do this activity. And so what is the activity? It's called daily dictation or a dictation activity. It's basically, I will say 5 sentences and you will write them down exactly how you hear them, the best that you can. So you will apply the correct spelling, grammar, punctuation, and capitalization. Why is this important now? If you are trying to do IELTS, TOEFL, CELPIP, PTE, something like this, there is a listening aspect. Usually you only are able to listen to something one time and you have to take down effective notes based on what you hear. This listening activity, if you do it every day, your notes will be very, very effective. And you'll be able to rely on the spelling, grammar, and information within your notes. So that will transfer perfectly for your answers. And that's what you truly want. And it's also just good for day-to-day English skills. I see students really improve their spelling after doing this over time because they get to know different patterns in words and how we spell different things in English, and it becomes natural, which is very good. Also, online school is a topic that is likely to come up in one of those proficiency exams such as IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, or CELPIP. So it is really good to know the vocabulary that you're being taught in today's activity as well. The vocabulary will appear in bold words. So after you write out these 5 sentences, I will show you the answer, and then I will tell you a little bit about the spelling and grammar that is related to some of these words. So let's get started. In order to really get good at the skill of listening and writing things down right away, you should practice every day. So there's new sentences available on this channel each weekday, and there's new topics each week. These topics are the ones that are likely to appear on a proficiency exam. There's 2 English levels offered to really help you build your skills if you're not quite an advanced or high intermediate English speaker yet. And there is a vocabulary list and practice worksheets available if you further want to practice your understanding of the vocabulary. And that is in a link in the description. The instructions for this particular activity requires you to have a blank piece of paper and a pencil. If you don't have a blank piece of paper and a pencil, you should have a blank document and type into that blank document. 5 sentences will be read. Each sentence will be read 3 times and 1 more time at the end. You have to write down each sentence the best that you can, and you will use your listening skills. Try your best to apply the correct spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. So let's get started with this activity. You'll see 5 numbers 1 through 5 on the screen here. Each number represents a different sentence that I will read. Write this down in your document or on your piece of paper. I'm going to start with sentence number 1. Number 1. Video conferencing is effective when you have stable internet. Video conferencing is effective when you have stable internet. Video conferencing is effective when you have stable internet. Number 2. Students use the chat to ask questions about the shared document in their virtual classroom. Students use the chat to ask questions about the shared document in their virtual classroom. Students use the chat to ask questions about the shared document in their virtual classroom. Number 3. Dropbox is used to share the digital textbook and other resources for e-learning. Dropbox is used to share the digital textbook and other resources for e-learning. Dropbox is used to share the digital textbook and other resources for e-learning. Number 4. The virtual classroom relies on stable internet to do video conferencing. The virtual classroom relies on stable internet to do video conferencing. The virtual classroom relies on stable internet to do video conferencing. Number 5. Ensure that your device is functional for virtual classroom discussions. Ensure that your device is functional for virtual classroom discussions. Ensure that your device is functional for virtual classroom discussions. I'll read each sentence one more time, starting with sentence number 1. Video conferencing is effective when you have stable internet. Number 2. Students use the chat to ask questions about the shared document in their virtual classroom. Number 3. Dropbox is used to share the digital textbook and other resources for e-learning. Number 4. The virtual classroom relies on stable internet to do video conferencing. Number 5. Ensure that your device is functional for virtual classroom discussions. All right, let's go ahead and get ready to check our answers. All right, so if you found that this video was a little bit fast or a little bit difficult to understand, you can listen again and make it go slower by adjusting the settings and making it a slower playback speed. You can also check the description for timestamps if you just want to listen to specific sentence numbers again. But if you feel like you got everything, let's go ahead and give it a check. So we're going to check all of our answers starting with number 1. Video conferencing is effective when you have stable internet. Just like we've looked at in every other video so far, capital letter at the beginning of the sentence, period at the end. Video conferencing. This is your subject of the sentence, even if it's in ing form, which makes you think it's probably a verb in the progressive form. It's actually not quite the function in this sentence because it's actually acting like a subject, which means it's like a noun. This is really called a gerund. And it's singular. So because it's singular, I'm going to use the form of be for singular, which is. Effective is our adjective. When you have stable internet, so here we are combining this clause, video conferencing is effective. And then this one, when you have stable internet, because we have independent plus dependent, we need no comma here. If we switch the order of this, then we would need a comma. So for example, I could say, when you have stable internet, see I'm starting with this half. In this case, because I'm starting with the conjunction when, I'm going to put a comma. I'll say video conferencing is effective, just like that. So if we have independent first, independent second, we don't need a comma here. But when we have it the other way around and we have the dependent clause first, when you have stable internet, then we will need a comma before the independent clause. Video conferencing is effective. So this is an important rule to know because some people say, okay, when do I use a comma and when do I not? This is one case where here we actually don't need it. Here's the next one. Students use the chat to ask questions about the shared document in their virtual classroom. This point is relatively straightforward, I think. So, of course, students has a capital S because it's the beginning of a sentence. We have a period at the end, just like always. Students is plural. We have the S here. So our base form of the verb is required for the simple present tense. So we're going to use the base form here, use. The chat to ask questions about the shared document in their virtual classroom. Now, there is very similar to the other ways that we've been looking at it. It is a possessive adjective to show ownership of virtual classroom. Students is plural, so we can reduce it to they. They are the ones that own the shared document, and the virtual classroom is theirs. They have access, they have possession of the virtual classroom. So we use their, the correct possessive pronoun for they. Number 3, Dropbox is used to share the digital textbook and other resources for e-learning. Dropbox is our subject. Whoops. Dropbox. Dropbox is our subject here. So singular, there's no S on it. So we're going to use the form of be, which is for singular, is used to share the digital textbook. So why are we putting ed here? Well, because it's not a verb. This is an adjective. And that's why we're using the form of be, is. And a lot of adjectives come with an ed form, so be careful of that. And now because we're having this form here, the next thing is going to be, we've learned it in previous days, infinitive, which is to plus the base form of the verb here. So this altogether is called the infinitive. The digital textbook and other resources for e-learning. E-learning, again, just like we've looked at before, similar to video conferencing, it is a gerund. So that's a gerund. Okay. Number 4, the virtual classroom relies on stable internet to do video conferencing. This one, again, is quite straightforward because the virtual classroom, that's our subject. Quite long, but our subject nonetheless. Singular, so we have relies. We are doing our third person singular rule for the simple present tense. Here, rely usually ends in a Y. So this is why our spelling is like this. Rely is generally R-E-L-Y, but we're adding an S on it. So we're not going to go like this. No, that's wrong. When we have an S after a Y for a verb and for nouns as well, we go R-E-L, no Y, and so we do I-E-S. That's the convention that we follow. That's the rule that we follow when we have Y and we have to add an S on that word. We're going to do I-E-S for that. The only time we don't is when we're adding an S to show it's possessive. So for example, if I say, we've seen this in previous weeks in dictation and last week a lot, city. Okay, so if I'm making it plural, then it's going to be cities, of course. However, if I'm making it possessive, I'll put apostrophe S like this. So that's the correct rule for all of these things. So keep that in mind. Unstable internet to do video conferencing again, turn. So let's look at our final one. Number 5, ensure that your device is functional for virtual classroom discussions. So here we have capital E and we have a period at the end. Your device, your is possessive adjective to show ownership of the device for modifying the noun device. And functional is an adjective. So we have to use the correct form of be. Device is singular, so we're going to use the singular form of be, which is. Virtual classroom discussions. And because there are many discussions, usually for the context, we're going to add an S on that as well. So that is a little bit about some of the grammar that we see in these sentences, some of the reason for the spelling, things to remember, spelling rules to remember as you continue in English. Now, all these bold words are important vocabulary words for the topic. So let's have a closer look at that. Here are the words that you should focus on. We have stable internet, device, chat, video conferencing, virtual classroom, Dropbox, digital textbook, e-learning, shared document. So here are all the words that we are focusing on for this week. And these are really good words to know and use if you come up with this topic or are given this topic when you do an exam. It shows the examiner, the person who is assessing your ability, your skills, and your range of vocabulary and how good it is. Other than that, we are all finished for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you come again and keep on practicing your English. Keep on doing the best you can. I'll see you next time. Bye.